Good old Blumhouse. Blumhouse is one of the most recognizable horror movie production companies, and since their beginning, they've released numerous horror classics that we all have come to know and love. So I pose a question to you. Of all of the classics that they released, especially the ones from the decade of the 2010s, which horror films are the best of the best? It is your boy Tech. Go ahead, subscribe to your boy if you love everything horror, like the video, and slide with me as we go over the top 5 Blumhouse horror movies. Spooky gang, what is going on? So talking about Blumhouse movies, the movies that I'll be listing in this video are solely standalone horror movies. So there aren't any franchise films, because if we were doing some of the franchise films that Blumhouse produced, then you know for sure I'll be talking about the Conjuring universe of films. Now I'll be talking about, DGG's Halloween franchise, the 2 Sinister movies, talking about the Insidious franchise, so on and so forth. Everybody's overly familiar with a lot of those. So I kind of wanted to more so gear things around standalone films, because if we were solely using the franchise films, Halloween would take up 2 of them, Insidious might take up another 2, and then you got Sinister, a couple of the Conjuring movies. You see what I'm saying? Like, that just would have taken up the whole entire list. So that's why I thought standalone would be a better idea, because I could truly go on and on and on about some of those movies. So with that being said, since we're talking about some of the standalone movies, the first movie that I want to list, and this isn't in any particular order, but I personally think that of standalone movies, this is probably the best out of all of them that have come from Blumhouse, and that movie would be Get Out. So in 2017, Jordan Peele released one of the best horror movies in the genre of all time. Very rarely do I use the word masterpiece, but I feel like Get Out does so many things correctly that I think it deserves to be in that level of a tier. Is this one of my favorite movies in terms of that I just watch it all the time? No, but I can recognize greatness whenever it's in front of me. So for the people who are not familiar with Get Out, the movie follows Chris, who visits his white girlfriend Rose's family. And he does this for a weekend, and he starts to notice, different little strange things about the family, and specifically the housekeeper and the groundskeeper. And throughout Chris's time there, he grows even more suspicious with some of the family, and some of the guests make really unsettling comments and behave really oddly, particularly at the bizarre gathering that they have that really felt more like an auction. And as the movie progresses, he ends up finding out that this whole family is very cult-like, and they're responsible for transplanting the brains of white people into the bodies of Black and African American people in a goal to achieve immortality. This movie to me just has so many layers to it. There's the obvious one that has to do with race and stereotypes, so that one's pretty obvious, but just so many different layers that really make this film much deeper than it is. And then even if you watch it on the surface as a horror movie, there are truly, like I said, unsettling elements to this movie. You don't know exactly what's going on, but you see how weird the housekeeper and the groundskeeper are acting. Different psychological scenes where Chris ends up being in the sunken place. So many little things like that that just add great elements to this film. It is an overall classic. The score is really good. Direction overall is good. Cinematography is good. You really get that sense of being uncomfortable, especially for people who are Black. You really can appreciate a lot of the artistry that came from Jordan Peele when it came to this. And even for people who are white and are European, it can be really enlightening to some of the conflicts and struggles that people of color may experience. But like I said, overall, even outside of all the race stuff and these underlying themes, just on the surface, it is just a really good movie. Going with your girlfriend to visit their family. Their family's weird, and you feel like the odd sheep out, and you have to find a way to basically escape this whole family that is now basically trying to kill you for all intents and purposes. And it for sure is the best that Blumhouse has to offer as far as a standalone horror film. The next movie that I wanted to list is The Invisible Man from 2020. This movie also was a very good movie, and I think it came at a very good time with it being 2020 and everybody dealing with COVID and the whole nine. So this was a very solid movie to be able to watch. And for people who aren't familiar with this movie, it's about this lady named Cecilia, and she escapes her abusive partner named Adrian, who's this wealthy and controlling scientist that specializes in optics. And so when she escapes, Adrian is reported dead by suicide, but Cecilia suspects that this is a whole facade and that it's fake, especially when terrifying things start happening to her and around her that she really has no real explanation for. And then as the movie goes on, she ends up finding out that he actually created a robotic suit that allows him to be invisible. And pretty much the rest of the plot unfolds from there. One thing that I really love about movies is I talk about acting all the time anyway, but like I said, when an actor has the ability to really make it seem like they're in a certain situation, you can see different emotional stresses on their face, whether it's going from being frustrated to sad to depressed to pure anger and rage. I love when a character can really evoke all of those emotions and really portray it to the audience, and as if like they're really going through those situations. Like, that's what makes a grade A actor. It makes you buy in. It makes you really care for characters, and I feel like you get a lot of that in this movie. As I mentioned, it's just overall a good movie on all bases, from the plot itself to some of the kills that we get, which are really good, especially the scene at the restaurant. That was crazy. But yeah, just so many good things, so many good elements that this is one of those movies that you really just can't pass up if you haven't seen it. So 100% would recommend this for the people who have not seen it. The next movie that I feel like is one of the best from Blumhouse is the movie Unfriended. Now, I already know what y'all thinking, like Unfriended as one of the best. I do not care. This movie is very underrated, and I think this movie is one of the best implementations of just using a computer, basically having the whole movie being filmed from like a Skype group chat, and a lot of the stuff that you see is all on the computer and going through messages and FaceTime and different social media apps and the whole nine. I like the way that it's shot, and it feels very realistic. Movies, when they try to incorporate social media or incorporate having an iPhone and different software like dialing phone numbers and stuff like that, it always looks ridiculously fake. But this, I feel like they really did a good job in crafting that world and making it really seem like, okay, they're using this software. But even outside of the cinematography and the way the movie is shot, I think it's just a good overall story and plot of having a group of high school friends on a video chat, only to find that someone mysteriously has joined their call, and that the unknown user that had joined the call was linked to this girl named Laura Barnes, who died by suicide because a video was leaked of her from a very embarrassing moment. And throughout the movie, you can see how that entity is really manipulating all of them, having them turn on each other, revealing different secrets and playing different games with them where they have to reveal those secrets, so on and so forth. It's just really good overall to me. Like, I just don't see how anybody could have a problem with this movie. Are you just gonna say that this is the best movie in the world? No. But anytime I watch this movie, I enjoy myself every single time. And then as the friends get knocked off, they get killed in very creative ways. So it's just very entertaining movie, one that I can throw on at any time. Yeah, it's just one of the ones that you really can't beat, just being completely honest. The next movie that I wanted to mention as one of the best that's coming from Blumhouse is the Belko Experiment. This movie also falls under the category very similar to Unfriended in the fact that it really is a very fun time and a very fun watch. As I've mentioned in previous videos, not all horror movies have to be the most dreadful and scary thing that you've ever seen before. Having some of the horror elements, and that usually is revolved around gore and scares. Not always scares and gore, but usually a horror film is going to have at least one or the other. And so, given a summary of this movie, employees at a Colombian office are all trapped inside. They're being given orders by this mysterious voice over the intercom that is making them kill each other, or they will be killed. So seeing people's internal conflict of, you know, you having your morals and saying, you know, I'm not trying to kill people, I don't want to hurt anybody, you know, I want to try to wait this out and hopefully somebody comes and save us. And then you have the people who are fight or flight, where it's just like, I'm not about to wait around for this 30-minute mark and then I end up dying. And the thing about it, a chip was installed in the back of the head, I guess, when they joined the company. They could just remotely make your head explode if you're not in compliance with what they're trying to do. So that added a really good element to the movie. As the movie progresses, chaos starts to erupt and the body count quickly starts to rise, or people are just eliminating each other left and right. Some are forming different factions and trying to stick together to go against other people who might be coming after them. So imagine all of that while you're being trapped in a building. So for the people that work at corporate America, imagine you get trapped in your office and now all of a sudden you got to go kill 30 people in 30 minutes. That is a wild reality, but yeah, that's what this movie is about. And I think that it's one of those movies that anybody can enjoy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just overall a really fun time. The last standalone movie that I wanted to mention is Dark Skies. Now, this is one of those movies, when I'm talking about something being unsettling, it is the pure definition of unsettling. this movie is geared around more so than any other movie that I list around the supernatural and like extraterrestrial entities. So in this movie, a suburban family begins experiencing strange events that includes blackouts, missing time, bizarre behavior, especially from their son. As the movie progresses, different things like birds crashing into the houses, symbols popping up in the house, things being stacked on top of each other like we've seen in, you know, a million other alien movies. This movie, for some reason, just feels so dark and ominous. I don't know what it is. Like in this movie, they called these extraterrestrial beings the Greys. First time, this movie came out in 2013. I watched this movie as a senior in high school. And you have to think, by that point, I'd seen movies like Sinister, and, you know, I grew up on The Ring and so many other horror movies. But although this movie isn't just like terrifying, scary, but like I said, that feeling of you just feeling like you're not safe, and then these beings just being, I don't know what it is, y'all. I can't really explain it. For anybody who hasn't seen the movie, I 100% recommend it. It's especially if you like movies that are about aliens, you know, movies like The Fourth Kind and, you know, some of these other movies that are out there. I think those type of movies definitely have their place in horror, and as far as Blumhouse, this is definitely one of the best that they release. But yeah, that is it, Spooky Gang, as far as the top 5. Now, I wanted to come at you with a couple of honorable mentions that I do enjoy from Blumhouse, and the first honorable mention for sure would be Hush. I think Hush is a really good movie for people who aren't aware about that. Hush is about a deaf girl that is living in like this remote cabin all by herself. There's this guy that's sitting there stalking her pretty much the whole entire movie, and she has to use some of her different senses and different strategies to be able to avoid and overcome this stranger who is sitting here stalking her and is trying to get into the home. I think that is another really good option for the people who like Blumhouse horror movies. And the last honorable mention would be The Green Inferno. Now, I know this movie is more so a 50-50, you know, half the people like it, half the people don't. It's an Eli Roth film, so you kind of already know what to expect from Eli Roth. But even then, I really do enjoy this movie. This movie is more so geared around a group of people that are going into South America to do different levels of protesting. As they're arriving, their plane crashes, and then they get stuck there. And not only are they stuck there, now they have to deal with people who are cannibals. So like this whole tribe of cannibals. So that tells you pretty much everything you need to know, and just know that that movie is a ride. Very solid choice for people who have already watched some of the top 5 and just needed another movie to watch. But that is all I got for y'all, Spooky Gang. Y'all comment down below what are some of your favorite standalone Blumhouse horror movies. There are a good little bit more that could have been in their top 5, but even then, that's what makes them one of the best horror production studios. Now, I know I made a video about a year ago talking about how they're not the same, which I think is still true, because the movies over the past 5 years hasn't been the best. But I'm not gonna sit there and shit on them too crazy, knowing that a lot of the stuff that they gave us from 2010 leading up to around 2020 was very, very good in a lot of aspects. Movie production company is going to have their stinkers for sure, so I'm not counting every single stinker, but it's what do your highs look like? And Blumhouse has some of the highest highs, and that's something I truly can appreciate. And I say in the fact that they continually release more, whether they end up being good or not, they don't stop putting them out. And so at the end of the day, it ends up being to each their own. So yeah, y'all comment that down below. What do you think of some of these Blumhouse horror movies, and what are your favorite ones? For anybody new to the channel, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 10K subs. I don't know what's wrong with YouTube's algorithm and why some of the more recent videos get like this weird view count of, it might be 90 views here, maybe a couple hundred here. I don't understand YouTube's algorithm in comparison to how it does for some of my other videos, but I digress. It doesn't really matter, because I do it for the love of the game, and I do it for the love of y'all. Y'all always support me, and I always support y'all. So we're a community together, and I'm gonna keep dropping these bangers no matter what. And so with that being said, Spooky Gang, until next time, y'all stay blessed and y'all stay spooky.